Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to a bit of a channel update. What you're seeing in the background is a time-lapsed video from, this was the end of the last live stream. I'd sort of gotten tired and I wasn't really doing much talking anymore, but I still wanted to play the game, so I figured, I'd keep recording it and streaming it at the time, but there wasn't any useful commentary there, so we're just going to voice over it while we do this channel update. I will be talking about SimCity specifically in a little bit, but there's a couple other topics I want to discuss before that. The first thing I want to let everyone know is there is going to be a meetup in Toronto on July 27th. We're going to have a party at Palladium, which is a big arcade in Toronto. It's actually in Mississauga, I think, technically. I don't really know Toronto that well. But it's a fantastic place. Tons of arcades, pinball machines, all kinds of stuff. And you just pay for a time card, and then you get to play as many games as you want within that time. And on Saturdays, $25 will get you a 4-hour time card. So all the fighting, shooting, driving games, and pinball games, and whatever the hell else they have kind of games over there that you can cram into 4 hours. And so hopefully we can get a lot of people to come out and have a really awesome time. I'll be there. Some of my friends will probably be there with me. If you're planning on coming, send me an email at quill18@quill18.com. And just let me know so we can get an idea about the numbers of people who might come. So that's going to be a blast. So that's going to be a Saturday, July 27th, probably somewhere around 8 p.m. or so in Toronto at Palladium. I'm also hoping to do a meetup in Sudbury, Ontario, which is, of course, where I live. And I know that quite a few out there actually live in Sudbury as well. So if you guys can shoot me an email over at quill18@quill18.com as well, I'm going to try to organize something here in town a little bit sooner. You know, maybe like a beer and wing night, or maybe just a wing night, depending on how many underage people we've got that want to come and do that sort of thing. So yeah, just fire me off an email and we'll see what we can plan. So that's the first issue I want to discuss. The second issue, and again, this is, kind of non-gaming related, but is one of my favorite things in the world. There is a game programming competition called Ludum Dare, or Ludum Dare, depending on how you say it. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite things to do. It is a 48-hour game programming competition. On Friday night, you get told what the theme is, and then you've got 48 hours to just go like crazy and try to complete a game by Sunday evening. I do sleep, but I don't do very much else, so it's pretty awesome. I live stream the whole thing. I've done 4 so far, and for my 5th one, I'm excited. I know it's going to be the best one yet. I'm actually planning on doing a multiplayer game, so hopefully we get lots of people to come out for that. Now, so that event is happening. It's the weekend of April 27th, 28th, 26, 27, 28, okay? So Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the 26th is when the theme gets announced. And I think technically that may be 1 a.m. on the 27th UTC. So Europeans tend to miss out the very start of it, but I mean, I'm going all weekend, so it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. You can check out the fun and the chaos. And it is supposed to be a solo program competition. Well, there's actually 2 divisions. There's the Jam, which is a group one, and then there's the solo actual competition. And I always do the solo thing, but we live stream. There's chat. We chit chat about things, and we just have a blast. What's the prize if you win? Nothing. There's no prize whatsoever. But hundreds or thousands of people enter this. There are all these games. People post the full game, the source code. You can go, you can play all the games, you can vote. You may only be able to vote if you actually participated in the competition. I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter how much of a novice you are, give it a try. It's a freaking blast. But yeah, we have tons of fun on the channel. A few hours in, I will start to overdose on caffeine and sleep deprivation. So we tend to have a great and silly time while we build games. So that is going to be, as I record this, is going to be in about a week and a half. I think it's 11 days the contest starts, and oh man, I love doing that. Anyway, this weekend, I will be doing kind of a warm-up for it. I always like to do it the weekend before, make sure everything in the stream is working, make sure that I'm up to date on my programming and all my setup is successful, so I don't have to worry about anything. And let's just sort of talk about some of the ideas we might have. Again, the theme doesn't get announced until the Friday when the competition starts, so you don't know what is going to be. The last time the theme was you are the villain, so I made a game where you play as a sort of Godzilla type thing destroying a city. The one before that was hold on, I'm trying to think of the order of them. Oh, the one before that, evolution was the theme, and I decided to kind of go a bit out of left field on that one, and rather than make sort of a game where, I don't know, a lot of people made things where like, oh, your main character could sort of level up and gain new abilities or something like that, I made a pinball game, a virtual pinball game themed around evolution. So, you know, some of the shots would trigger natural selection. Actually, that was the multi-ball, right? It would start natural selection mode, and you'd go into multi-ball, spit out 3 balls, and, you know, then they reach a different color. And then the last one that was still in play, well, that was the one that sort of survived the extinction event, and then all your balls were of that color. But, you complete it and you got like 1,000,000 points or something like that. So that was the theme, and so on and so forth. So you're getting this theme, and then you're trying to think of a game that fits that, while at the same time the clock is ticking down, because there's a lot to do in programming, and you have to do all the programming, all the art, all the sound. You have to get it online, instruction screens, main menus. It's all those little things that tend to really take up a lot of time. So what I'm going to be doing this weekend is not going to be a full game, simply because I'm not going to be able to dedicate a full 48 hours to doing that. I'll be exhausted and I won't be able to do anything else. But I'll put in a few hours, and I'm planning on doing it on Saturday, maybe morning-ish in my time. So that's Eastern time. I will make a post on YouTube when it starts kind of more officially, but to be sure that you don't miss it, make sure to go to twitch.tv/Quilla18 and click follow there. That way you should get an email alert when we go live. But yeah, I'll try to make a YouTube post a little closer to the actual time, either the night before or an hour before that morning, just to try to give everyone a heads up about that. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but on YouTube you can tell YouTube that when you're subscribed to someone, on a per channel basis, you can tell YouTube to email you when a video goes online. And so if you don't want to miss the live stream announcements, that's another way to do it. Also, a lot of times I find that the subscription page on YouTube will go through like a day or two where it's screwing up and doesn't properly update. So you end up missing a bunch of videos from people. It happens to me all the time, and it annoys me because I'll go and find out that I've missed like 3 videos in a row from my favorite channel. So if there's some people that you absolutely don't want to miss their videos, make sure to do the email subscription thing, just to hopefully get around that problem, because apparently the email is much more consistent. So yeah, let them there. Let's see, some people will probably ask, what programming language? I'm going to be using Unity 3D, which is a full game development engine and sort of toolkit. I will be programming in C#, but using that whole sort of thing. I will also be using Blender for my 3D models, probably something like Photoshop for any textures I got to use. Oh, this bit in the video, there's a weird glitch in this road, and it was causing an extra invisible intersection and huge traffic jams. So you're going to see me like kind of just destroy this and rebuild it right here. And if you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because there's this horrible traffic jam that like traffic is lined up outside of the city. Now, give me a second. I'll clearly get back to it in a moment and fix that, and it really will help things out considerably. So yeah, let them dare. There's a website, ludumdare.com. So it's LUDUMDARE.com. Check. I should put a link down below in the description box, and if I haven't, make sure to yell at me, and I'll get it up there. Yeah. So all right, let's talk about SimCity then. That took less time than I thought. Okay, SimCity. So this, I haven't done another video since this live stream because I've been extremely busy. I've done a little bit of traveling, a few things here and there, and trying to catch up on a few things on the channel. Things that I've been meaning to do for a while, other Let's Plays that were going on. But I'm starting to itch for another session of SimCity, so hopefully we'll get another one of those in soon. That being said, there's still some things about SimCity that frustrate me quite a bit. And I mean, at this point, I've got, I don't know, well over 60 hours. In fact, it's probably more like 70 or 80 hours into the game right now. And considering my schedule, that's a lot of time for me to sink into a game these days. So I certainly enjoy SimCity considerably. And I know that there's a lot of people watching the channel who really like it, so I've been trying to put up, a bunch of that content. I certainly had no plans to put out 30-ish episodes of SimCity videos originally, but people have responded really well, and yeah, it's been a blast. So, I think there will be more, but there's no denying that there are still some definite warts in the game, and that continues. So again, with this live stream here, look at that building with the funky green roof. During this live stream, we had a full 16-city region. I was running a city, Ava was running one, Briarstone was running another, and so on and so forth. And viewers had all the other cities, for example. And it was great fun, a great experience, but still we've run into the problem where some people's regions have glitched out. They can't get into it, they can't do a rollback, they cannot access the city in the region. So There are still problems like that, and those are the ones that to me are really frustrating. You know, weird bugs or weird, I don't know, unoptimized traffic patterns and things like that. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but at the same time, a lot of times with these games, it's about learning those systems and then learning to work around them. You know, it's kind of part of the puzzle. Especially with these builder games, because they all have like weird quirks and behaviors, and you're trying to, you know, figure out, okay, how do the people in Tropico actually move around? How do the, you know, whatever, in the original StarCraft, how do the Dragoons actually try to pathfind and get stuck all the time? And then you learn to work with those, and that just becomes part of the game system, right? It may not have been an intentional part of the game. The design document may have intended to do something different, but that's the way it is, and so you learn to deal with it, or you don't. So many things with SimCity are like that, and every SimCity's always been like that. You have to learn the quirks of their particular system. And EA's also been quite responsive about updating the game, and we're gonna talk about that in a moment. And by EA, I mean EA Maxis. There's really not a difference between the two. Technically, Maxis is the developer, and technically EA is only the publisher, but they're really very much one and the same. So yeah, but when you're getting into a situation where you've just lost your city, the city that you've spent, I don't know, hours and hours playing, it's really disappointing, and especially when we're in a region like this where we're all trying to work together to get things done. The frustration is multiplied, right? Like 16-fold. Everyone is upset by it. So that's the reason I didn't continue this play. Finding out about that, and there were some people having issues with it that night, and then apparently Ava's been contacted by at least a couple more people since then that have talked about, like, no, I can't get into my city now either, and so on and so forth. So it's been a little bit demoralizing. So that, combined with the fact that I felt like I really had to go back and fill in a couple of blanks with some videos that have been a bit overdue on my part, plus a little bit of traveling and definitely being very busy, and with Ludum Dare, trying to work on my programming a little bit, because I really love game programming a lot. By the way, have you guys been subscribed to my Quill18 Creates channel? If you have any interest whatsoever in game programming, whether you want to do it or you just want to see how it's done, youtube.com/Quill18 Creates. I have tutorials for game programming over there in, I think, all in Unity 3D and some Blender work if you're into 3D modeling, that sort of thing. And that's, you know, very sort of basic, sort of beginner-friendly stuff. There are no pure programming tutorials because there are sort of better ways to learn sort of pure programming. I might do one at some point because certainly a lot of people have requested it. But mostly it's, okay, if you're already a little bit of a programmer but you want to really, you know, start doing 3D games, here's how you do it. We've got pathfinding, we've got first-person shooters, I got a multiplayer space sim, all that kind of stuff. I was talking about traffic and glitches and being disappointed. Anyway. So, oh yeah, and you know, not having enough time. But I am hoping to play a little bit more SimCity shortly. I also I have continued to promise people a Hearts of Iron 3 Let's Play, and that is definitely as soon as I can. Up until now, some of the delays have been, I still don't know how to play Hearts of Iron, and frankly, I think we're just going to have to leave it at that. I'm going to just, this is not going to be a game that I know. So I'm going to do it just because I think it'll entertain people, but it's not going to end up being a very professional looking game. But at this point, it's time to get it done. So hopefully soon. I know I've said that before, but what can we do, right? So back to SimCity. Updates, all those sorts of things. Right, so one of the things, I think I've talked about this before, but I can't remember if it was you know, in a live stream situation or this or that. You know, a lot of people have this idea that, okay, EA is pure evil. Or maybe, I mean, I'm not going to make a comment on that one either way. But a lot of people have said, like, oh, you know, EA just, you know, forced SimCity out because they wanted the money, they're going to take the money and run. Well, no, that's entirely the opposite of what EA wants to do. And I'm not going to say that they're doing that out of any sort of benevolence on their part, right? EA does not just want to sell the original SimCity. They have plans, and this has been the thing with The Sims, right? The Sims has like 150,000 expansion packs. Okay, maybe not quite that many, but every version of The Sims has had like 10 expansion packs, somewhere around there, like some gargantuan number of expansion packs that are relatively expensive. Not only that, but the newest Sims 3 has an integrated store where you can purchase additional DLC. And DLC is a tricky topic in general, right? In gaming, there is DLC that is done well and DLC that is done poorly. Ultimately, all these things are a business, right? You are giving someone money in exchange for something that hopefully you will get fun from. And so the only question that remains is, how much is a certain amount of fun worth in a certain amount of dollars? You know, whether something is overpriced or not is entirely dependent on that sort of thing. I might be willing to pay $200 for a game if it's an amazing game that I will sink thousands of hours into. Arguably, that's what MMOs are, right? You're paying a monthly fee for these things, but there's a gargantuan amount of content and lots to do, and it can keep you occupied for a very long time. And then on the flip side, there are games on my iPhone that I might not be willing to spend 99 cents to play. And so there's all these things. So the question is not whether DLC by itself is wrong, for example. Here's, I think, where I finally realized that there's a funny break in the intersection. I resolved that problem. The question is, how much are you getting for your DLC? And how much you're paying for it, and is it worthwhile? For example, I picked up the SimCity Deluxe Edition, which was an extra $20, and I actually don't think it was worthwhile. It's kind of cute to get some of the like Eiffel Tower and the double-decker bus station, but I'm not convinced that was worth $20. I'm going to be honest there. But some things might be, so DLC in and of itself is not bad. I would happily. What was I thinking? There was something the other day. Oh, if they come out with a road pack that includes things like roundabouts and stuff, and it's under $10, that to me would be very compelling. I could probably do that. Right? And some people won't, and some people will. Some people will buy everything. Some people might buy one or two things, and some people will buy nothing. Some people will buy nothing and not complain about it, and some people will buy nothing and argue that they're getting, I don't know, somehow because it's not being given away for free, they're being robbed. Even though, businesses are businesses, right? So, so EA has a very strong incentive to keep people playing SimCity. They don't want to they sold 1.1 million copies? They made a decent amount of money. They don't want to take that money and run. Yes, always on DRM is concerning, but EA does not want to turn off the servers next month, right? They want to keep people hooked to SimCity for years, and they want to sell them expansion packs and DLCs and all those things. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil because of that. It's just the way it is. So they will continue to keep updating the game. And they have put out some pretty impressive updates. They have re-enabled cheetah speed. They're finally starting to get some of their things sorted out. Traffic patches, all these things. They are trying to respond to the issues that people are putting out there. And there's a big patch. I guess cheetah speed hasn't been enabled yet on the live servers, but on the test server. I think it's going to come out in patch 2.0, which is going to be a massive gargantuan pack with lots of changes, fixed and retuning to casinos and all residential cities and all kinds of things. I never had a problem with the whole all residential city thing, but they are tuning things somewhat to, hopefully come out to just sort of a better, more balanced experience for everyone. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But they're coming out with all those things. So DLC, not necessarily evil. They're definitely incentivized to keep the game running and keep people happy as much as possible, because that's their business plan. If they do it right, they will make more money selling expansion packs and DLC than they made on the original game. And, Sims 3 is a definite example of that, right? Even if each expansion pack was a fifth the cost of the base game, which it's not, they could still make more money selling all their expansion packs. And that's not bad. A lot of the expansion packs add a crap ton of content, and the idea being hopefully they spent a lot of money developing a really, really good engine, and maybe overinvested in that, although I doubt it, with the idea that they'll reap benefits for it later on, right? And it's all in our interest for gaming companies to do well. But the other example of DLC I want to talk about is this Nissan Leaf charging station that came out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something, and it's very interesting. Some people. Well, this is always the way on the internet, right? Some people are happy to have some new content and talk about it. Some people are unhappy to have new content and talk about it. Some people don't even play the game, but sure as hell have an opinion. And the vast silent majority never say anything and, are maybe more indifferent about it, or maybe even slightly positive about it. But you're not going to hear about that on the internet. So that's the thing you've always got to remember. No matter what you read about any topic on the internet, good, bad, literally any topic, you have to remember that the people that you're hearing about are only the tiniest fraction of the user base and aren't representative of the larger majority. Something could come out for a game and the internet could be like, this is the greatest thing since sex. And yet the game makers might discover, like, overnight 95% of their user base has stopped playing. Because even though the hardcore minority, the loud hardcore minority, thought it was great, the silent majority did not. right? And vice versa. And this is actually what happens most often. You've got a loud, hardcore minority that bitches about everything, and yet stuff stays popular. Maybe because it's lowbrow, maybe because it targets the the lowest common denominator. Who knows? We're not necessarily in a position to make any changes about it. It's just sort of interesting to ruminate about it, and then to use it. If you were to become a game developer, you got to keep that stuff in mind. So this Nissan Leaf charging station is interesting because it is free DLC, right? Oops. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Wow. We're gonna leave that in because it's funny. So you start up the game, and you've got a pop-up right there in the front window that you can click on and redeem this charging station. And it is clearly sponsored, right? It is clearly advertising. And there's a saying, I believe, like I most recently heard it said by John Green of the Vlogbrothers. Or is it Hank Green? Or is it someone else completely different? I don't remember. But if you are not paying for a product, you are the product. Right? And what does he mean by that? Well, he says, well, Facebook is free and YouTube is free and all these things are free to you, but you are the product in that those websites are selling you to advertisers, basically, right? They're selling you to Coca-Cola and Nike and whoever the hell. They're selling your eyeballs to them, right, to show advertising. And again, advertising is definitely one of those sticky things, but it's reality. How can YouTube survive without showing people ads, right? You know how expensive internet servers and bandwidth are? Oh my God. Frankly, I think they already lose money, or at least they did for a really long time, because it's ludicrous how expensive that stuff is. So they got to make money somewhere. Either they're gonna have to charge you $1 or something to see every video, or a $20 a month subscription fee, just like cable, or they're gonna show advertisements at you. And that's why those things are very important. And people who kind of block ads indiscriminately, you've got to keep all that stuff in mind. If you're on a website that you enjoy, you should probably not block them. I can see the argument of blocking things from a security point of view, and the fact that some websites are incredibly annoying, especially if you're just visiting them once or something. But if you're going somewhere regularly, it's definitely a good thing to do. So we've got this Nissan Leaf charging station, and it's clearly advertisement, but it's also free product for you. Okay, it's being paid for by Nissan, okay, in exchange for sort of getting their good name out, that they've got these electric cars of whatever. I don't know anything about the Leaf, right, but it's electric car of some kind. And I don't know, and again, this is something that it's not new. This sort of thing happened in Sims, for example, right? They had various objects, like I know that you could get an Alienware computer for your Sims, right, branding, and I think some of the cars you could get, and that sort of thing. And that's not necessarily good or bad. It depends on the content. I really am often bothered by product placement in television shows. On the other hand, I'm often bothered by obviously fake, generic-y kind of products in television shows, right? Sometimes it makes a lot more sense to see a can of Coca-Cola than seeing, generic brand cola of some kind. It pulls you out. It goes back and forth. Like I'm watching Bones on Netflix, which I enjoy quite a bit. But partway through that, they clearly got sponsored by this like Toyota thing, and these terrible product placements for these cars. Just awful product placement that drove me crazy. Right? And it mostly comes down to how do you use it, how does it fit? Is it being used in a sensible manner, or is it just pulling you away from the experience? And one of the things I liked in Cities XL, which is another city builder game, is when you zoom in really close to the roads, by the roads there are billboards, and there are billboards for actual products, actual hotel lines, actual car companies. And I loved it in that setting because to me, that made the game so much more realistic and immersive to see these actual products, having billboards by the roads. I thought that was really cool. So right now, the Nissan Leaf stands out a bit, almost because it's the only one, right? And one of the things, maybe there's something to be said about the fact that the sim world has always been in this weird alternate reality, a reality of Simlish and simoleons and llama jokes and all those things, and maybe it feels a little bit out of place to have it. I don't know, but there you have it. So I haven't actually played a game I haven't played a game since the Nissan Leaf came out, so I can't even comment on how useful it is. Apparently it's totally pollution-free way of helping to reduce traffic and all that jazz. And I love some of these people's cities. I think they're great. But yeah, there you have it. So I don't know. I think that's all the controversial topics I was really looking to discuss. But, oh, here we go. Here's another example of, you got to look for these, like, extra intersections that get created here when one road type converts to another, because it will screw up your traffic. Yeah, I don't know. I might bring this to a close. Thought I had one more thing on my list, but I'm afraid that I don't recall what it is. I, for one, think that there's a lot of life in this SimCity. I think it's going to be a lot like the same sort of thing happened with Civilization. Both Civ 4 and Civ 5. These are fantastic games. In fact, I've often said that Civilization 4 with the Beyond the Sword expansion pack is possibly the most perfect and complete game that has ever come out. Right? And there's always room for changes and differences. For example, the combat in Civilization 4 and the combat in Civilization 5 is quite different. Civilization 5 plays out very much as if you were playing almost like a chess game, right? With the 1 unit per tile combat and hexes. And some people really, really like that. But at the same time, there's room for more abstraction. In Civ 4, the fact that you just sort of, put all your units in one clump and move around like that, that's not necessarily bad. Different games are different things. When I play Europa Universalis 3, I have armies of, 20, 30, 50,000 men in one stack that I don't even move on a tile-by-tile basis. I just plop them in a single province and then move them to a whole other province, in one fell swoop like that. So there, and if I'm playing something like StarCraft, then I'm playing with individual units in real time. So, there's room for different type of choices in gameplay. And to me, Civ 4 and Civ 5 are both excellent, excellent games. They're just different. But both of them were enormously flawed when they first came out. Both of them hardly ran on most computers, had terrible memory leaks, terrible performance, crashed all the time, multiplayer never worked, the game balance was just awful, miserable games, and it took many, many patches and iterations and expansions, and modding helped as well. But they were both pretty well supported by their own by their developers. And at this point now, like, if you don't have those games and you're at all interested in strategy games, listen, Civ 4 and 5 both come on sale quite often. Both come on sale really, really cheaply, and they're definitely worth checking out. Civ 4 will run on any computer these days, absolutely any, and you can pick them up. When they go on sale, you can pick up Civ 4 for like $5. It's nothing. Civ 5 needs a tiny bit more computer, but not much more. And again, it comes on sale fairly often. In fact, they've got a new expansion coming out relatively soon, and I suspect that the base game will be put on sale several times before that happens. And for both of them, try to pick up like the complete edition or whatever, which will have all the expansion packs to date, because the expansion packs really, really complete the games. So I think the same thing will happen with SimCity. Like Sims 3, when it came out, it was, perhaps missing certain gameplay features that, sort of made the game experience maybe a little shallow at first, right? But the expansions come out, they add new gameplay, some of it based on user feedback, some of it based on, more and more sort of like just game designers sitting and thinking about different problems and trying different approaches. Because once the game is out, they no longer have to worry about developing the engine. The engine is done. Now it's just about, okay, can we add another couple of features to the base engine, but more importantly, just, script a lot of really interesting objects. So you tend to see more and more complex interactions come out later. The game starts simple, and certainly SimCity in its current state is relatively simplistic. The transit options, maybe the industry options, maybe those sorts of things, and certainly the map size. So, these things will come. And what does it mean? Does it mean you get punished for being an early adopter? Maybe. Although it did mean that I got to put in tons of hours, and I certainly enjoyed it. But, that's the reality of gaming. I do recommend, and I'm totally with Total Biscuit on this point. Total Biscuit is a huge YouTube gaming person. And he has often made the case that you should never pre-order a game. And in the olden days before digital distribution, you actually did need to pre-order games sometimes. Not always, a lot of times it was still the game stores, kind of screwing with you. But there was a risk that they would run out of physical product for a popular game, right? There's, big game of the day is coming out, and then you go to the store that day, and they've run out. They only had 50 copies, and 50 people have come in. In fact, 70 people have come in, so 20 of you are now disappointed because you didn't have a game. So next time you will pre-order, right, and you will get that. Well, there's no real need to do that in a digital world. In fact, there's very little need to do that in the physical world anymore, barring, maybe for special editions or something like that. And what it does is it locks your money in. What if you find out it's a terrible product, right? So because there's always the risk that there'll be pre-orders, they'll sell 1 million copies of pre-orders, and the game will come out and it'll turn out to be crap. And so what? They've still made 1 million sales, right? It doesn't matter. But if people stop pre-ordering, then if the game comes out and it's crap, then the game companies are screwed because the reviews are going to come out, everyone's going to know it's crap, and no one's going to buy it, right? So it makes sure that people put out more quality products that will survive the review process, for one. The other thing is that it's kind of like you're giving interest-free loans to people, right? You are giving them money before they have anything, so then that's money they have, and it's money you don't. You could have left it in the bank for an extra month. And I mean, I know it's a small amount, but these little things sort of add up, and I don't know. And of course, they try to incentivize the pre-order by giving various pre-order bonuses, but the world would definitely be better if people did not pre-order as much as possible. And I did do it for SimCity, and I think that's pretty much the only game I've pre-ordered in quite some time, unless I'm wrong. Maybe Heart of the Swarm? Actually, I think I only like technically pre-ordered it a few days before it came out, and I'd already been in the beta and everything at that point. So I'd done my testing and I knew what it was going to be. Plus, I sort of have some faith in Blizzard there. But yeah, it's definitely good. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I think I've run out of things to talk about. I know we haven't really talked about the actual game that's been going on so far, but a lot of the session was sitting around and waiting. Kind of seeing if traffic jams would pop up and watching the progress go in the airport. And that's the thing. People keep asking me to revisit the old cities. Like, oh, why haven't you gone back to Lost Brussels? Well, why? The city is done. It's full. Other than sitting there and like sort of bulldozing things and re-putting it down, maybe to sort of tweak things here and there, it's done. And I don't find that part of it very good for a live stream. Sometimes it works great if I'm not actively playing, or not actively sort of streaming and commentating, which is why in this video, that's what I was doing. Mostly these tiny little adjustments, because I wasn't really talking about it. Because how can you talk about, yep, I'm watching some cars, yep, watching a few more cars, okay, I'm going to move this intersection like 3 pixels over to the left. It's not the same sort of fun. And plus, in these games, I love the initial parts. And that's always the best part of all these games. Whether it's SimCity, whether it's Civilization, any of those things, the start of the game is so great because you just have this wonderful blank canvas to paint on. Right? After that, it's sort of just navel-gazing and looking at what your work has wrought. And then it's like, okay, start a new map and continue and continue. And so, I don't know, that tends to be the way that I play. And it'd be different maybe if the maps were bigger. Well, ultimately, I'd still reach that point of like, okay, I feel like the city is kind of done. Now I want to do something else. Hopefully in the same region, although this region is full of buggy cities that people can't access. But we've already done that rant, haven't we? Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you'll come out to the Let 'em Dare live streams. Again, make sure to be subscribed for all that. And again, if you are anywhere close to Southern Ontario, come and meet us at the Palladium on July 27th, around 8 p.m. probably. And again, make sure to email me, quill18@quill18.com, and sort of just let me know so we get an accurate idea of how many people might be coming, because we might be able to make some adjustments for that. They do have a little like food bar. There's also there's like a little food place, kind of like the same thing you'd see at a movie theater. There is also kind of a bar restaurant area. So again, if you're not an adult, definitely, there will be adults there. So, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that like there'll be grown-ups around. Tell your parents, make sure they know what's going on. Bring them with you. I am not a babysitter. There might be jerks that show up. I can't be responsible for that. There might be, people that go to the bar and get hammered. And so there you go. I mean, it is a family-friendly atmosphere at this Palladium. It's a place for all ages kind of thing. But these are internet people you're talking about. You don't know how weird I am in real life. Good God. I could be a complete freak. See you next time. Bye-bye.